Welcome to Stranger Connections, where I celebrate wonderfully weird people and quirky stories. I'm your curious beast and host, lisadavidolson, the practically world famous business humorist, interactive speaker, speaker trainer, and connection queen. Reach out if you want me to help reignite your team or event. Welcoming today, we have a Swiss visionary. Suddenly, I want Coco. He is a speaker, a coach, and a surfer dude. So welcome, Marcel Kuhn. Thank you for being on Stranger Connections.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm sorry, but when I use the word Swiss, I always think of Swiss Miss Coco. Is that bad?
I have no reference to that.
Oh, you don't know Swiss Miss Coco? Is that just
No,
in the US?
yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay, everybody's breaking out marshmallows right now. It's just a brand of cocoa. So now you know. And so I guess we've wrapped up the whole episode now that I've educated you. No, I
yes,
really do
thank you so
welcome
much.
you. Yeah, bye. You are definitely an entrepreneur, a word that I hate saying because it just never flows out of my face well, but you come from a long line of entrepreneurs. And here's the big deal I learned about you. And probably nobody else has been excited about this yet. You ready?
Yes, tell me.
Your great uncle invented the pressure cooker in 1949.
Yeah, it's true.
Has anyone else gotten as excited as me about that?
No, not really.
I'm going to tell you why. Because my dad collects pressure cookers. So he's going to be so excited that I met a relative to the inventor, because I think he probably has between 30 and 50 right now pressure cookers.
Wow, amazing.
Amazing, and there's no reason that he should do that, but that's what he does. So I grew up eating out of pressure cookers, and every single person that you say that to, they always share a story about how it exploded and there was
Uh,
spaghetti on the ceiling, and that is just not fact. They don't explode, but everybody will say that. So anyway.
yeah, but that has to do with fear. And if one incident happened, like a shark attack, if one
Yes.
shark attack happens worldwide, everyone is scared. But it's only one attack, and how many million people are in the ocean?
Wow, very
So
true. Why do
it's
we
the
glom onto the
fear.
one? Yeah.
The fear is, the fear is of the unknown and the potential of something like that happening. So you're very afraid of it, but it doesn't really happen. Like Tesla, everyone talks about how they break down and how unsafe it is, the self-driving cars, and but it's just by media. They pick up on one event and just multiply it. That just usually there is some industry behind that wants to spread this kind of message. So it's about fear.
I love that you remind us that we tend to glom on to the one mucky story when in fact there's many, many ocean experiences that had nothing to do with teeth and blood and things like that. So you're right. We glom onto that because why? I mean, is it just a recognition of that which we are afraid of? Why do we want to know about the bad story?
Yeah, I think it's about sensations, and this sensation just sells better on in media, and people connect better to it. I think from
Yeah.
from our brain, how our brain is wired, from our reptile brain, we
Mm.
are we are wired for fear to protect ourselves, and,
Well,
and so
yeah.
that's why it works well, this like fear-based stories.
True. And fear sells news, sells papers, sells all that. Well, you are a speaker and a coach. I call you a surfer dude because your book uses your teachings as, is that funny to you, calling you a surfer dude? Is that
Yeah,
hilarious?
I'm landlocked Swiss person who pretends to be a surfer.
Now we know the truth,
Yeah.
because surfing sells just like headlines. Okay. Well, all of your stories go around surfing analogies, so that's why I'm calling you that. But absolutely, tell me about your book and what made you write Unthinkable.
That's a long story, and in so I have this book here. You see that? So the title of the book is Unthinkable, Life Teachings from a Soul Surfer. And when I started out on this journey, it was a different book. We had a tragic accident in family. Someone in family passed away, and when when you're kind of in your career and having a house and building a family and trying to have a corporate career, you feel like everything is going well according to plan. Usually some plan that is not even yours, but it's a plan that you think is yours. It's kind of I call it the shell identity. It's like the identity that is given to you. So you're a professional person, you're a dad, and a family man, and all that. And then when something like that happened, a tragic, then suddenly you have to think about what does it all mean, and what is life really about. And this incident really triggered me to think about what is my legacy, why I'm here. And at the funeral, I asked myself the question, why are some people so successful and fulfilled and other people not? And my assumption was that you have to be successful first, because I was on this track. And from my family situation, I was surrounded by a family that was quite successful, monetary, and also having impact and philanthropy, and with this invention of the pressure cooker and the double walled cookware and all that was massive, and there was a huge expansion. So I was coming from this family, and suddenly you have all these questions about what are you here for. And I was sitting at this funeral and asking myself, who would even show up at my funeral, and what would they what would be the inscription on my gravestone and all that. So and then you think about what kind of teachings you will give on to your kids. I had at that time I had really small kids. They are still quite small. And so I after that I went out and asked myself always this question, how can I find out answers how to be successful and fulfilled? And I had the idea of interviewing 1,000 people on success and fulfillment. And the book title that came to me was Achievers, 1,000 Ways to Success and Fulfillment. And that's a whole totally different book than it turned into. And so I went out there, interviewed. The first person I interviewed was John Mattone. He's a executive coach, a world famous coach. He was chosen to be the #1 executive coach of the world for 4 times or 5 times now. And he coached Steve Jobs 1 year before he passed. And so people like that, I started interviewing Olympic champions, and I was on this journey. Everyone in the family was really sad and in kind of in this I would say in this victim mindset. And I was going out there, meeting these most amazing people, having this conversation, and I almost felt guilty of having this exciting new adventure that I was going on.
With that adventure and your goal was to interview 1,000, or did it just end up to be 1,000?
No, my that was you can imagine it's like a channel. So the idea came to me, the title, Achievers, 1,000 Ways to Success and Fulfillment, and 10 questions came to me. And from there I just had the idea of interviewing 1,000 people, but I never interviewed 1,000 people, because that was just really a audacious goal. And that was always my Unthinkable was always going big.
Right.
And but only if, during the writing on the book, I came to this term of unthinkable, because I realized that those people were all totally different, but what they had in common, they were doing what was unthinkable for others. So usually the words with in the English language is usually a negative term. So unthinkable. And for me, it's like a word play. I really love the word plays in English as well.
Yes.
So to do the unthinkable, you have to think the unthinkable first. So when you think the unthinkable, it becomes thinkable and therefore possible. So everything in the world, everything that is created by man, by women, just by humans, started with an idea, and then someone put energy into it, and other people start believing in it, and it becomes a possibility. And Nelson Mandela has this beautiful quote that says, everything seems impossible until it's done. And that's really what it is about. So doing the unthinkable is really stepping outside of your comfort zone, outside of the the known, and into unknown territory.
What I like is how you said you started with this one idea, I'm going to interview people. And that's fantastic because that's how we learn. But that you were open enough to say, oh my gosh, I'm going to switch gears. Now this idea was here, and I'm going to go with, as you use the word flow, I'm going to go with the flow, that I'm going to accept this new idea. How many times is that something that we roadblock ourselves and say, but no, I said I was going to interview 1,000 people and this is what I'm going to finish. And that might not have been your life work. You allowed this new idea to take hold and shape where you were going.
Yeah, so I was in my case, I was probably lucky to be unlucky. So when you have those tragedies in your life, that's actually what steered me out and what drove me forward. So when I was working on this book, I had this interview, and there were just interviews, and anyone can do interviews with people, and I was finding it hard to find a red line from those interviews. And I put those people on pedestals, right? I thought, I don't know anything, they know everything, so I put them on pedestals, and throughout this journey, I realized that actually, they're not different than me. They're just humans like me. We all have the same potential if we choose to tap into it. Everyone has the same latent potential. Not everyone has the same opportunity, but your brain and my brain are pretty much the same. It's just a matter of how, if we want to expand our thinking and go tap into the unconscious, right? Because the subconscious mind is a supercomputer. Our mind is a supercomputer with 40 million bits of information per second, and our conscious mind does 40 bits per second. So when we think about what's the capability that we have if we tap into this potential, it's really amazing. And
It
so
is. I've got a lot of squirrels in my brain as well, though. I'm going to tell you that. I got a lot of squirrels, and they are playing with Play-Doh and Legos, and yeah, they're eating bad food. So I'm not going to say that we have the same brain, but I appreciate the thought. You also are a coach, and I think that is, I can see that in you. I can see, because you take your learnings and you want to share with others. I would love to hear a story about someone that you've coached. What is something, maybe you helped someone with a breakthrough in their thinking, or accepted, teaching them your flow method, which is, it stands for finding love and oneness within. So I would love to hear about a story of someone you coached.
I have to be honest here. I think I'm not I'm not really a coach. I think what I do is I'm more a story, and I think I use the stories to to thrive or to drive the transformation of people. So that's more and more what I'm doing. But I think it's sometimes difficult when we have a process that is maybe different than what other people are doing. So I like storytelling. I do that with my kids or with anyone who I work with. And a story that maybe I can share is, so I was in Morocco, and I have this 21-day challenge that I do with myself always. So everything I do, I focus on it 21 days. Because so when I start something new, I do it for 21 days. I focus on something, and I call it the 21-day Unthinkable challenge. So I do something that is scary, outside of my comfort zone, and excites me, and is aligned with my vision. And I do it for 21 days. So for example, in Morocco, I was learning how to wing foil. And wing foil is this sport where you are on a board, and when you're fast, you speed up, the board comes out of the water, and you're on the foil. So you're riding like 1 meter, 1 yard above the water, and you have a sail, right, a wing, So the wind takes you, and you ride so you actually ride on a board that is above the water. So you ride on the clouds.
Wow. Oh my
And
God.
I
See, I told
learned
you you're a surfer, dude.
and I learned that in 21 days. I learned it from zero to being able to to ride. And so any skill you want to learn, if you're committed to it, fully committed, you can learn it in 21 days. And so I met a guy, an entrepreneur in Morocco, and he told me for years he has been wanting to create a retreat. So he's a doctor. He has different clinics in Montreal, like 4 clinics, but he wants to have something that is connected to his purpose. So he wants to create a retreat, and he hasn't been able to do it for 4 years. And I did this challenge with him at this 21-day Unthinkable challenge. And now, after not having the opportunity to complete it in 3 years, he was able with this challenge to create a retreat in 21 days, and in another 21 days make it happen. So actually, in a week, I'm invited to speak at his retreat.
That's
And
exciting.
and so,
Marcel, you can't say you're not a coach. You can't say that anymore.
okay.
So I'm telling you, that is coaching. And also I'm sure you do that with your kids. If they're saying they can't do something, you're taking that away. 21 days also is a great way to stop a bad habit. That's the way I grew up. You're saying 21 days to obtain a new talent or try something new. I also know you can quit things in 21 days. So I think that's great, the way you're saying it in a more positive spin.
Yeah, I tell my kids all the time that in our family we don't say we can't, and we don't say no, and we don't say the but, because the but really destroys all the time. So the language patterns are really powerful. So the way you use language has an impact on your results. So that's what I teach with my kids. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now you've always been finding the vision and the entrepreneur life and philanthropy and all this. How much did that change having kids, where you were kind of like, okay, I'm learning from my elders and I'm going forward, and all of a sudden you've got these little minis that are going, I've got new ideas for you. Guess what? We just painted the wall with our hands.
Yeah, for me it's quite an exciting journey to be around kids, and whatever I learn, how I expand my mind and my mindset, I teach it straight to them, and they mirror me a lot, and so they challenge me a lot. But I really enjoy that. So yeah, I think that's the expansion. They are the masters, they are the teachers. So when you're around with kids, you always have to be open to learn, because they are much more expansive, and they don't have any limitations. And I keep that. I want to keep them in that way, that they are the pure self and are without limitations.
I agree. And anytime I'm coaching or speaking, I invite people to get on the ground with kids, play with kids, look at their angle, admire the ants and what they're doing, admire different things we can build out of toys. I reference the squirrels in my brain with Legos. That's a real thing. So finding your playful self and watching kids, we can learn so much and not be put into limitations with thoughts as well. So that is, if you get a chance to play with kids, that's a great way to open up your brain as well. What
And you
about this?
mentioned
Go ahead.
you mentioned before, like a flow. Like I mentioned this in the book, Finding Love and the Oneness Within. And when you're really present and when you're around kids, you're really in that flow state, because the kids don't know anything but flow. Of course, if they're in school and forced to do something that they don't really enjoy, then they are not in flow state. But when I play with them, when they are drawing, when we do storytelling, they're really in flow. And that's the exercise I do with them, telling stories, and I invent them as I go. So I do stories in flow state. So I usually make up it's different characters of animals that I use, and I have animal that is a reference to me. So I always make fun of myself, and we have funny names, and so I'm the character of the rhino. And my friend that I run with, I train with, he's a gazelle. So I always make fun of these characters and all
I'm
in flow.
feeling you could do a wonderful kids book, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's
also, I
on the
want to
mind.
tell you that another idea about a rhino is also, we call them chubby unicorns.
Oh, that's a good one. I have to remember that.
Yes. If I can't find flow state, let's say I'm struggling to get something done at work, I'm pounded on by the managers who are giving me all these deadlines that are unreasonable. How in the heck am I going to find a flow state when I'm at my worst at work with a deadline and I don't feel smart and all those things?
Okay, so flow usually is disrupted when you don't take a decision. So then you get out of flow. So usually the moment of indecision takes you out of flow. So when you move forward, and it doesn't even matter if it's the right decision or the wrong decision, just moving forward is about getting into the flow. It's like a river. A river has no judgment about the rocks that are in the way. It just goes over it or on the side or under it. So really taking decisions. And so I went through divorce, and you can actually be in flow going through divorce, because you just have, whenever there is a tough decision, you have to take the decision and then continue. So being in flow is not everything is easy. Being in flow is being totally present and not be afraid of the future, anxious about the future, or in regret about the past. That's what we usually get wrong as humans. We are always regretting something, but when we are in the present, we are really in flow, and then we can tap into the full potential and really stream the ideas. And you as a as as a speaker as well, and as a comedian, you probably have that as well, that you have to be in flow state to have open channels, that everything comes into you, and that's not you, that's coming from, I guess, from a higher power. It's not, you're not like making the jokes or whatever, or the, no, the points, they are not by you, it's coming more through you. So I think when we are open, we are in the present, then everything comes through you, and that's where the magic happens.
I like that. Yes, for me, that's improvisation and allowing new thoughts in. And like you talk about, making choices, but allowing new thoughts to come in. That is exactly the great answer. Thank you so much.
And that's what I mentioned in surfing. It's about
Mhm.
surrender. You don't
Oh,
fight the current. You surrender to the ocean. You surrender to the wave. And when you don't fight the wave, you become part of it. And then it's a collaboration between you and the wave. It's like the wave is the canvas, and you do the art on the canvas. And it's not about giving up. So surrender is not giving up, it's giving in and being part of it, and letting it flow instead of fighting. And I think when we are maybe in corporate environment and we fight against our colleagues, because it's always a competition, we have to be the best to get the promotion and all that. But if we collaborate, if we focus on collaboration and more of us mentality, instead of like being all about ego and about me, then when we move from the me to the us, then we actually can get so much more done, and we become one with everyone else, right?
fantastic. That is amazing. I appreciate that thought. I needed that. And I know everybody else needs that reminder from time to time. I know that your website is unthinkableliving.com, correct?
Yeah.
And then to find your book on Amazon, we're going to use your name, Marcel Kuhn, because there are a lot of other titles called Unthinkable. So we're going to use your name, Marcel Kuhn, and look for Unthinkable, Life Teachings from a Soul Surfer. And now I have to ask you about a dare or a prank story. What you got for me?
Yes, so my dare, and I think that's the most uncomfortable, and I think it's fitting for the title of your show, connecting to strangers. I think most people are so afraid of talking to strangers, and I have this dare to myself, but also to my kids. Whoever I meet, my dare is to myself to say a compliment from the heart. So whoever I meet, I tell them a compliment. And I can just share a story. Sometimes my kids find it a little bit annoying because I always talk to all the strangers, but they are also intrigued because I always find out information when I go to some place. I have great connections afterwards. So my dad and I, we were in a mountain hut in Switzerland. We were riding our mountain bikes up there, and we had a lunch, and a woman came in with her partner, and she had the coolest socks, like those cycling socks. They were like all colors, rainbow colors, but really bright pink and all that. So I walked up to her and said, "Hey, your socks are super cool." And this comment turned into a deep friendship. And her daughter is the same age as my oldest son, and we have overnight parties, and so they are now really good friends. We are almost like family with my parents, and she just lost her mom, and so my mom is like kind of like I don't know, become like a mother figure. So
Yes.
it's amazing what happens when you're really doing the unthinkable, which means getting out of your mind and into your heart, and being in kindness and being in your authentic and sharing a positive compliment to someone from heart to heart. That's the most impactful that you can do to connect with strangers. And
All from
if
a
we connect with
compliment.
if we connect with strangers, we are not strangers anymore. We become friends, we become family. And now we have this like family chat,
Yes.
on WhatsApp. It's so powerful what you can do with just one comment.
Well, you have definitely touched on something I do all the time, and I do serious selfies with strangers. I approach a stranger and ask for a photo. I have gained friendships. No one has ever said no. We don't smile, and it's ridiculous, and we laugh. So I totally align with your compliments from the heart, because it's all about us taking our faces out of our phones and connecting with actual humans who happen to be in our radius and engaging. And you can tell if somebody doesn't want to, but you didn't say anything mean. You didn't correct them. So I invite everyone to give that a try, just to connect with somebody you don't know as a simple hello, or hold a door for somebody. There's nothing wrong with that. It could be your next family member in your WhatsApp group, right?
Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you so much. I'm honored to have chatted with you, Marcel Kuhn. And remember that we can only be strangers once. And I invite you to stay weird, if you can.
Always.